Hello everyone, James Lynn here, and today I'm baking cookies. Now, it's taken me perhaps 4 attempts to perfect my recipe for cookies, but I've got a couple of tricks that just make them so delicious. So I wanted to show you guys. So the first thing you do is get your butter and chop it into roughly shaped cubes. Then we're going to throw it into a pan over high heat and melt it down. Keep stirring it, we don't want it to burn, but what we want to do is brown the butter. And this is my first trick to getting the most delicious cookies. Now, to brown the butter, you just want to keep stirring and stirring and stirring for maybe about 5 or 10 minutes. If it starts to bubble too much, then turn the heat down. And what you're looking for is for the butter to transform from a nice yellow to a rich caramel brown colour. It'll start to smell this really beautiful sort of nutty smell, almost kind of like a fudge smell. It'll happen really quick, like you'll be stirring for 5 or 10 minutes, and it'll suddenly do this, so like keep your eye on it and keep moving it because you don't want the butter to burn. But as soon as it transforms into a beautiful golden brown, turn the heat off and we're going to set it aside to cool. Now while it's cooling down, we're going to get our sugar weighed out. I'm going to put all the measurements down below because I can't remember them off the top of my head, but we'll measure out our brown sugar and our white sugar and throw that into a bowl. We'll add our cooled butter into this mix and stir it in thoroughly with a spatula. And then we're going to get 2 eggs. Now these eggs are from my own chickens in the garden, so I know they've been well treated, but unfortunately these cookies aren't vegan. Anyway, we're going to add the eggs into the mix and stir them in really well. I usually add 1 egg, stir it, add the other, stir it in and make sure it's well mixed together. Next, we're going to get our flour and bits at a time, we're going to add that into our mix. Don't throw it all in at once, it'll become a nightmare to stir in. Add it a bit at a time. I'm using a sieve to make sure there's no big lumps. And then just fold it in with a spatula. Just keep folding it in, adding more and more at a time until you get this beautiful cookie dough. And with the brown butter, it smells amazing. Next, I'm going to add white chocolate chips. And as an extra bit of flavour, I've got this golden cinder toffee, which is kind of like the inside of a crunchy bar. It's got this nice sort of honeycomb flavour. I'm just going to bash that up into smaller pieces and throw that into the mix as well, and then just mix it all together. And now your dough is ready. So just wrap it up and pop it in the fridge. Okay, so we're going to leave that in the fridge for 2 days, which I know seems like a long time, but I promise you it'll be worth the wait. What leaving it in the fridge does is allows the flavour to really diffuse into the mix. The fat content in the butter is a really good carrier of all of those sweet buttery flavours, and that's just going to really diffuse in. And at the same time, the dough is going to dehydrate, which is going to really concentrate those flavours and just make it so delicious. So be patient, just pop it in the fridge and just leave it for a couple of days, it will be worth it. Now, as I've said, it's taken me a lot of attempts to get this cookie recipe right. It's taken a lot of failures, like my first batch was so bad, they literally just came out as puddles. It was, and I just looked at it, I was like, I am not good at baking apparently. But I stuck with it. I went on the internet and sort of like looked up some tips and stuff like that, and I learned from my mistakes and eventually developed this cookie recipe, which I just love. It's so delicious. You're gonna fail a lot in life. You're gonna failure is just something that you have to become comfortable with because it's inevitable. You will fail at pretty much everything you try the first time. It's probably not going to work out right, and you just have to work through it in order to achieve the success that you're looking for. And I think we're sort of conditioned from a very young age to just consider failure as a really bad and disappointing thing, and we tend to get caught up in all of the negative emotions of failure. We tend to take it very personally, but what you need to do as a creative is to just take a step back and look objectively at your own failures and mistakes and observe your sort of process. Be like, okay, that didn't work out, but why? Why didn't it work out the way I wanted it to? Figure out what went wrong and then use that as a means of developing yourself into something better. And don't forget to evaluate your successes as well, because you need to know what's going right as well as what's going wrong to be able to be like, okay, I'll keep doing the things that are going right and stop doing the things that are going wrong. I'll change up how I'm doing that. Through this constant process of self-evaluation and learning from your failures instead of just giving into despair every time it happens, when you learn from the things that aren't working, you will develop and you will eventually succeed at what you're setting out to achieve. I'm approaching my first full year of freelance photography, and honestly, it has been so full of failures, at least financially. Like, I've not made a great deal of money, but if you look at the flip side of it, I have learned so much this year. So even though if we're defining my success by how much money I've made, I'm not looking that good. If you define it by how much I've learned and how much I've developed as an artist, I have blown it out of the water this year, and I have learned so much through all of the mistakes that I've made, and I'm going to take that into my next year and hopefully start to thrive as the creative through all of these lessons that I've learned. And I promise you, if you just take the time to just learn from your mistakes, you will eventually find yourself succeeding. You have to fall down before you can walk. It's just the way it is. But just keep at it. Don't give in to despair. It's so easy to just give in to all those feelings, but I promise you, if you just keep at it, keep evaluating yourself and your process and learning from it, you will get there. Anyway, it's been 2 days now, so let's go bake these cookies. So we take the dough out of the fridge and preheat the oven to 190 degrees Celsius. Unwrap the dough, then cut the dough in half. Then divide each half into 5 smaller pieces and form them into balls. You can get either 10 big cookies or 20 small cookies out of this dough. To get 20, just divide each ball into 2. Next, we get a tray, line it with baking parchment, and then press our dough balls onto the tray to make discs that'll become our cookies. Make sure to press them nice and flat. And then just pop them in the oven and wait. After about 10 minutes, once they start to turn golden brown, take them out, and with a spatula, pop them onto a rack to cool. Then, as a final garnish, sprinkle them with a bit of sea salt. And now our delicious cookies are ready.